You get the ugliest, most unlikable, most hateable, most obnoxious, despicable person. He's also the shortest. And Ben Shapiro marches up to the stage with his Israel flag in tow, with his giant yarmulke covering his head. And he gets up on his wooden crate on the podium and says, "Oy vey, you're not loving Israel enough. You don't worship Israel enough. You're a moral imbecile. You're a moral anti-Semite." And everybody under the age of 45 first goes, ugh. Hate that voice, hate that face, hate this ugly little twerp. That's the first reaction. Second reaction is, this guy doesn't belong here. And this guy doesn't belong here because this is the America First movement. And Shapiro gives this big speech. He talks about this is a question of frauds and grifters. It's about truth and authenticity. It's about courage and telling the truth. It's about none of those things.
This is why, just to kind of chirp in, people have turned against Ben Shapiro, as well as other people. One that immediately comes to mind is Jordan Peterson, and these are the people who campaign for freedom of speech right up until it comes to criticising Israel. That's why people are so critical of Ben and have turned against him and now find him annoying. I still found him annoying, but I used to enjoy his work. But now again, because it's freedom of speech up until it's criticising Israel, now you've lost all credibility.
What do all of the people that Ben Shapiro called out, what do they all have in common? Bannon, Tate, me, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Tucker. What do they all have in common? They have almost nothing in common. Not ideologically, not racially, not in terms of gender, not even in terms of nationality, not in terms of religion. Excuse me. We don't even all get along. As a matter of fact, most of us don't get along. All the people that he called out. The one thing that we all have in common is that we have all criticized Israel's conduct in the war in Gaza. We have all talked about the influence of the Israel lobby. That is the one and only thing, notably, that all of those people have in common. He gets up there and marches up to the stage. I'm going to tell you what. Excuse me, 1 second.
Just all of this wouldn't be happening to Ben if he was willing to criticize Israel. Again, I don't agree with everything that Ben says, but in terms of him, wanting freedom of speech and stuff like that, I fully agree with that. It's the whole being unable to criticize Israel and then just labeling everyone who criticizes Israel as an anti-Semite is it's the same tactics that the left use. You're promoting and creating the woke right, which is a big problem now because of people like you.
Pretty good there. I got this terrible cough still. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. I think they poisoned me in New York.
I have been to New York in the past couple of months and also got very, very ill.
Marches up to the stage. He says this is about the courage of our convictions, the courage in our conviction in the truth. The one thing they all have in common is that we have criticized this country. And I will say this. What Shapiro did was bold. Courageous, brave, absolutely not. Certainly it was bold. And to his credit, Shapiro is being bold in defense of his people. He is calling out all of these right-wing figures on behalf of the Jews, on behalf of the Israel lobby. And he's doing it in a deceitful way. He's doing it in a tricky way. But that's what he's doing. And he's boldly naming the names. He's boldly stepping up to an audience which is not going to receive it probably very well. And he's sticking up for his people.
Here is where I kind of disagree with Nick Fuentes. I actually don't even think it was bold what Ben did. I'd say it's more cowardly because he was the first speaker up. And for him to then unexpectedly call out all the later speakers, the speakers that are going to be following him, completely, I would say unprovoked, but in Ben's mind, he probably thinks it's provoked. But yeah, for him to call out all these speakers right before they go up and give a speech, I personally think it's quite cowardly and not bold.
They're supportive of Israel, endlessly supportive of Israel, promoting Israel, never critical. This is his personal, professional, political mission. It is to advance the cause of another tribe, another nation, another people, another religion inside of our country, inside of our civilization, among our people. That's his role. That's his job. Now, there's been a lot of talk about anti-Semitism and hating people for who they are and so on. I don't hate him. I don't hate him for this. I don't hate him for being a Jew. I don't hate him for being a Jew advocating for the Jewish nation inside of America. I don't hate him for any of that. I don't hate him because he's a human being. And I don't hate him because I understand him. And in some sense, he's doing what's logical. He's doing what is right in a sense, according to his subjective opinion of what is right. And so it's like the scorpion and the frog. He's going to do what he's going to do. I am far more disappointed with our own people than I am with Ben Shapiro. For Ben Shapiro, there's no surprises. Ben Shapiro marches up to the stage, gets on the phone book, and he rants and raves about anti-Semitism. There are no surprises here. Somebody asked me, do you have any comment about this? I had a journalist text me. I said, no, I don't really have a comment. There's nothing really more to say there. There's nothing really interesting to say. Shapiro's going to do what Shapiro's going to do, and no one can or should be surprised. No one is surprised. It is what it is. And we can't even necessarily hold it against him in itself, in principle.
I get what Nick is saying here, in terms of, like, obviously he's going to defend Israel. Like, why pretend to be a big proponent of free speech, but then as soon as Israel is attacked well, not even attacked, sorry, I should reword that, is criticised for its actions in the Middle East, it's immediately labelled as anti-Semitism, when it's not. It's just not. We should be allowed to criticise countries, especially countries that are at war, whether it's criticising Ukraine, whether it's criticising Russia, any country, you should be able to. And when people like Ben Shapiro start throwing out the label of anti-Semitism to people who are simply just criticising Israel, that's where all this criticism for Ben Shapiro comes from, and why he's just constantly embarrassing himself. But yeah, it was nice to see Nick respond to Ben Shapiro. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. As always, thank you very much for watching. Stay based.